Emotional immaturity is one of the biggest reasons relationships end. We've all been there. Talking to a person you love, but the conversation just doesn't ever go the way you want it to. You like them a lot, but there are just some things they do that you can't stand. Every time you try to talk about the future, they change the topic. Every time you try to open up, they shut you down. And most importantly, they can't stop cracking jokes at your expense. If you are facing these kinds of issues with someone, then we hate to break it to you, but you're dealing with an emotionally immature person. Today, we're going to look at 8 things emotionally immature people do. Make sure to watch until number 1, so you too can recognize emotionally immature people and avoid them. Number 8, they can't look beyond themselves. One of the worst things about emotionally immature people is that they can't look beyond themselves. The only thing they want to talk about is how they're feeling, how their day was, and how they're the best. Emotionally immature people are self-obsessed and can't relate with other people because they think that they always come first. They're under the impression that they're always going to be the most important person in the room and that everyone else should forget about their own issues to focus on them. This trait is one of the most emotionally draining ones, and before you know it, you're going to put yourself second and them first. Try to stay away from people that make everything about them. Number 7, they're overly defensive. Emotionally immature people get super defensive every time you mention one of their shortcomings or complain about something they've been doing that's bothering you. If you mention that they've been neglecting one of their duties, they'll reply with something that shuts you down. A crude joke or personal attack is one of their favorite replies, and it's how they avoid any conversation that ends with them taking the blame. Every time you try to bring up something that's bothering you, they'll mention how they are tired and how you're always on their case. Don't be fooled. They're just trying to change the topic and want to make you feel bad for complaining about them and not putting up with their inappropriate behavior. Number 6, they try to pin the blame on you. Every time you try to make an emotionally immature person accountable for their actions, they'll manipulate you and make you feel that you're somehow responsible for everything. You'll get into an argument thinking to yourself how you've been wronged and deserve an apology, but end up being the one that's apologizing every single time. This is because emotionally immature people never learned how to accept that they too, like everybody else, can be wrong sometimes. They can't come to terms with it and find ways to always hold someone else responsible for their shortcomings and issues. Instead of being thoughtful and admitting when they've messed up, they'll place the blame on other people or circumstances beyond their control. Number 5, they're narcissistic. There's self-love, and then there's narcissism. Self-love comes from accepting your flaws and understanding that those flaws are a part of you and are what make you, you. Narcissism is when you refuse to accept that you have any flaws and think that you're the most perfect person on earth. Self-love requires you to accept that you're flawed and have issues like everyone else. This requires a level of emotional maturity and coming to terms with this fact. Emotionally immature people lack that, and hence they're narcissistic. This narcissism also leads to them thinking they're better than everyone else and makes them rude. They won't pay attention to you, your feelings, or your problems. They come first because they feel they're better than you. These people are not only emotionally immature, but also toxic. Do your best to stay away from these people. By the way, if you're finding this video valuable so far, then make sure to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And why not subscribe so you can keep learning more? It's free. Number 4, they resort to petty insults. People that are emotionally immature will always resort to petty insults and shame you for your feelings and emotions. This is something a mature and sensible person will never do, but for emotionally immature people, it's the only thing they know how to do. If you question why they did something, they're going to make fun of you and make you feel bad for asking, instead of giving you a valid, straight answer. This is because of their inability to hold themselves accountable, and so they try to deflect all responsibility with petty insults. They'll call you stupid for questioning their decisions and make fun of your feelings. If you feel sad because of something, they'll ask you to grow up and get over it. This is because they think that only their emotions matter, and that if someone else is displaying emotions, they're being dramatic. Number 3, they have poor listening skills. A telltale sign of emotionally immature people is that they have poor listening skills. Since they only focus on themselves and think they're the most important person in the room, they never give other people the attention they deserve. You can open up to them about your deepest problems and issues and find them uninterested and bored. This is wrong, and no one deserves someone they love to ignore them that way. Emotionally immature people, however, always ignore other people, and then expect that when it's their turn to talk, the other person will give them due respect and make them feel important. If someone makes you feel like your problems don't matter and your issues are not worth talking about, you need to reconsider your relationship with them. Number 2, they refuse to apologize. Have you ever met someone that just never apologizes? They can be dead wrong and just won't accept it, and if by some miracle they're actually proved wrong, they'll come at you and say that you just like making a fuss out of everything and you're overly dramatic. This is something that emotionally immature people love doing. As people grow up, they realize that they can't always be right, and if one of their actions hurts someone, they need to apologize for it. Emotionally immature people, however, think that by apologizing, people will lose respect for them, so they never apologize. They would rather end their friendship and relationship just so they don't have to accept that they're wrong and apologize. Number 1, they seek attention. People that aren't emotionally mature are always huge attention seekers. Feeling like they're the most important person in the room makes them feel special, and they'll do everything they can to feel that way. This, however, also means that they'll be angry at you when you're busy and can't give them attention. The truth is that these people only ever want attention, and they're happy only as long as you give it to them. The day you start to prioritize your own mental health and well-being over being in an emotionally draining relationship with an emotionally immature person, they're going to start calling you selfish and again resort to petty insults. Emotionally mature people, on the other hand, understand that people need space, and they can't always be the center of attention in every situation. If someone makes you feel bad for focusing on your mental health and personal growth instead of giving them attention, then that person is both emotionally immature and toxic. Leave them and focus on your own mental health and well-being. You deserve to be with a person that understands you and wants to see you